Hey everyone, so alright, we got this going. It says live video is starting. Who knows if it started already? I don't know. We don't know these things. Okay, so you're live now. Alright, it says I'm live. Okay, we're here. Now, check this out. I got it done. Um, the This side was down. I ended up using a parallel bar. This goes in the vise in the mill, and so you have two of them, and you can hold things, and you can clamp them. It was the perfect thickness to back it up. I ran it in a little bit more, so this side has 96 thousandths, the other side has 85. So I think that's as close to perfectly centered as humanly believable. Um, Let me get my gloves back on. It was just like this fine balance between like lots of lube and grease everywhere in my hands versus everywhere else. Now we're going to get into a little more grease smearing, so a little less on the fingers, a little more on the gloves. So although this is open to the transmission, I just don't have that much confidence in how it gets fed. All right, so here's the check you. Okay, you're there. This is the air cylinder. You apply air. It shoves this whole piston and shaft over against a spring, and it moves the gear over. So it engages in this groove and it slides the gear. So I got that back together. Nothing too much magic there, honestly. The shaft is bi-directional. The other end has a screw I couldn't remove. It's a 3/8 fine pitch. Just, it's going to be easy enough to deal with that if I have to later in life. I think it's going to be fine. Put grease in there, a new gasket here. It was originally leaking here, and I put that big blob thing on. I actually had this on, and it stopped the biggest of the leaks from the transmission. Um, yeah, so we're probably ought to test this. I don't want to. That sucks. I don't want to. I mean, just me. I don't want to. I can test it next time the PTO is on. I'm kind of over the struggle bus on this. But I mean, if I test it today, then maybe we can have that question answered. Do we have what it takes to test that? I mean, I'm sure we do somewhere. Do we have what it takes for that? If not, I'm not going to put too much effort because I'm over it. Yep, still over it. We'll test that later in life. I just can't care. Okay, back to work. Back to work. I'm gonna fill all this up with grease. Oh, these go back into the kit with the other ones. I mean, it's like managing chaos. All right. What can you see? Nothing? Okay. Pretty much I want to just coat everything in here with grease. So maybe it won't rust as quickly next time. I mean, hopefully I get to drive this thing enough that it won't rust, but who the F knows? I mean, I think I did a really good job putting this back together. Everything's just the perfect amount of loose. Like, not really. Gee, maybe I shouldn't force the gear in the direction where, like, my finger smashes. Now, I listen to our inner voice of common sense and reason and saves us from problems. And now that I've trash talked in 3 dimensions about myself, we're being extra careful because, you know, a little nagging voice sure is good about being right. Okay, all that's fantastically sloppy in there. And give our other cheesy homemade gasket a good coating. I probably could have bought all these gaskets, but ultimately the few people I did buy from, I didn't see. I didn't see gaskets really super available. And it was like, I got the big meanest gasket and some of the other specialty parts, and I just don't really necessarily need a whole bunch of shipping charges just for a few gaskets that I know I could make. So I ended up making them. A little bit of please don't rust as badly prevention in here. And some please don't screw up my world prevention on this. Okay, I know this points back. Are these guys for here? Quite possibly. Come on, you. Ugh. Now I will go back and follow up with a torque wrench once I get the spec on these. That might be next, I don't know. This gray stuff is marine grade anti-seize. It's not as obviously silver as the other stuff, which might not be the best because now it can hide better. Oh well. So we kind of got this bad boy back to where he or she was before. We wrecked it and made it quit working and took all its pieces apart. Maybe this side is less bad. Just kind of make it a little more friendly. I did put the set screw in. So there we go. We got it. This is the PTO as it was mounted. It was sort of like this. I think it's on an angle about like that. That's backwards, that's forwards on the truck. Initially had a huge leak at this seal that we've replaced, and then I fixed that, and then it had a pretty big leak here in general. So what I did was I took the on the other side of the transmission is a matching cover plate, and that's what I did to drain the transmission. So like you can see this guy goes here and then this guy goes there, sort of opposite the same gear. And so then with the transmission drained and the PTO pump engages into here, so we had to loosen this, and I unbolted this from the transmission. Super heavy with this plus the pump. I mean, this is probably 30 pounds. And so now I was supporting the pump, undid the screws, pulled this off the pump, and left the pump on a stand, and it continued to leak. So the transmission was leaking absolutely and a lot, especially from this front seal, and which is below water line, below the full mark, and it was leaking hydraulic fluid. So next up, we're going to fix the shifter. We need to rotate the transmission a little and see if that fourth fork pad is missing. So these are the fork pads. If that's in between the synchro and fourth gear, that would be awesome. I can dig him out, hopefully, and we'll fix fourth. That would be fantastical. And so pretty much that's the exact next step, is rotate the transmission, look between the synchro and fourth. If we can dig that out, then we can put a good check box on the transmission saying it's good to go. Almost, almost, because in that box is the cover to the transmission with the shift forks. And so I wasn't going to take that apart because it has springs and balls in it. And then it occurred to me it could be really rusty and trying to make shifting into fourth worse. So we do need to take that apart and detail it like I did in here. So yeah, it's like check the synchro from fourth to fourth gear for this other piece that's missing. We recovered 3 of these. 2 were in the PTO. 1 was still on a shift fork. The 4th one was missing. And it was 1 on 4th gear that was missing. So hopefully we'll find him in there. A little troublemaker. What else? I mean, that's kind of like our next big couple steps. Wow, it's pretty crazy. It's felt like this has been a more monumentous task and development than even the rear end, even though honestly it wasn't. I did get this seal banged in. I used the same spacer as the gear, which I don't know where it went. Over here? Yeah. So this dude coincidentally fit perfectly in there in the recess. This I think is, ooh, it's not 3x2. So the outside is, I don't know, what's that, 2 5/8? And the inside is 1 1/4. So 2 5/8 by 1 1/4. I got that as part of a scrap bid on eBay. Like there was just a listing with 10 pieces of scrap or something. My price was fair. It was at least what recycle would be. Alright, so these are the screws to the cover of the transmission. So those are left over. There were 3 cap head screws. There's 1 on the shift fork for the PTO, and then these 2. We got a new seal in on this side, and that's the one that was leaking initially that I put the cheesy cover over. This does move over about 1 inch out more. So if I really need, I can put a proper gasket on something like this, bolt it up, and then it does have a hole in it. So if this seal blows, then we'll be able to have air transfer through its hole, or we'll pry it out, or who knows, I don't care. Not real worried. I know how that works. That's no longer a mystery. Let's see. I kind of doubt I tightened this. There we go. It has an O-ring. I didn't replace it. So there we go. I'm just like really stoked to have this effing thing done. Now I'm gonna just kind of drive this cart to the side. I've got work to do on the lathe. I have to do some production for work. But the cool part is I can drive the press away, make it go back to its home in 700, and get back to real work which everyone will appreciate. So great. Good times. Thanks so much. We're going to end this. So glad that's done. So glad that has been vexing me for way too long, longer than it should have. And I was intimidated by it, and I shouldn't have been. But oh well.